trusting what we hear. Most people believe that hearing is a direct connection to reality. When we hear a sound, we assume it has a clear source. A door closing, a phone vibrating, footsteps in the next room. These sounds feel objective. Unlike thoughts or memories, they seem to come from outside us, from the world itself. But hearing is not as simple as it appears. The brain does not passively receive sound. It actively interprets it. And sometimes, it completes patterns that are not fully there. The incident you are about to hear is quiet and ordinary. But it reveals something deeply interesting about how the human mind processes sound, expectation, and uncertainty. The incident: a repeating sound. The incident happened over several evenings. A man named Elias had recently moved into a new apartment in a large city. The building was modern and relatively quiet. At night, the environment was especially still. There was no heavy traffic nearby. No construction noise. Only the occasional distant car. On the first night, as Elias sat reading, he noticed a faint sound. It was subtle. A soft, rhythmic tapping. Not loud enough to be alarming, but clear enough to notice. At first, he assumed it was coming from another apartment. Perhaps someone walking, or something shifting against a wall. He ignored it and continued reading. But after a few minutes, he noticed something unusual. The sound had a pattern. It repeated every few seconds. Not perfectly regular, but consistent enough to feel intentional. Over the next few days, the sound returned. Always in the evening. Always faint. And always similar. Elias began paying more attention. He tried to locate the source. He moved closer to the walls. He paused and listened carefully. Sometimes the sound seemed to come from the ceiling. Other times, from somewhere behind him. But it never became clearer. It remained just at the edge of perception. This made it more noticeable, not less. The more he focused on it, the more distinct it seemed. Soon, he found himself anticipating it, waiting for the next tap. The strange part. One evening, Elias decided to test something. He turned off all the lights and sat quietly in the dark. No distractions. No movement. Just silence. At first, there was nothing. Then, after a short while, the tapping returned. Faint. Distant. But unmistakable. And yet, something felt different. The sound now seemed less external. Less tied to a location. It was as if it existed, without a clear source. That was the moment the experience became unsettling. Why this feels like a mystery. Experiences like this challenge a basic assumption, that sensory perception reflects reality directly. When a sound cannot be located or explained, the mind searches for patterns. It tries to assign meaning. It tries to stabilize uncertainty. And when it cannot, the experience feels strange, even slightly disturbing. Not because of fear, but because of ambiguity. The psychological explanation. The brain is constantly predicting sensory input. This process is known as predictive processing. Instead of waiting for complete information, the brain anticipates what it expects to hear. When sensory input is weak or ambiguous, the brain fills in the gaps. In quiet environments, this effect becomes stronger. Small internal sounds, such as subtle movements, distant vibrations, or even internal body noise, can be amplified. The brain organizes these into patterns. Once a pattern is recognized, expectation reinforces it. Elias began to expect the tapping, and expectation made the perception more vivid. This does not mean the sound was imagined. It means the brain shaped how it was perceived. Resolution. A few days later, Elias discovered the likely source. A loose fixture near a window frame. When temperature changed slightly at night, the material expanded and contracted. This produced faint, irregular tapping sounds. Individually, the sounds were insignificant. But combined with silence and attention, they formed a pattern. A pattern that the brain amplified and organized. Reflective ending. In the end, nothing unusual had happened. There was no hidden presence. No unexplained phenomenon. Only a quiet interaction between environment and perception. Yet the experience remained meaningful. Because it revealed something subtle about the mind. We often believe we perceive the world exactly as it is. But in reality, the brain is constantly interpreting, predicting, and completing what we experience. And sometimes, what we notice most clearly is not what is there, but what the mind expects to find.